You drink water all day, you track it. You checked the color this morning, looked fine, and you still woke up with a headache behind your eyes, joints that felt like they needed 10 more minutes, and energy that did not arrive until noon, if it arrived at all. That is not dehydration the way you were taught to think about it. That is something else, and the way to find it takes 4 seconds. Pinch the skin on the back of your hand, right now if you can. Hold it for 2 seconds. Let go. If the skin snaps back flat immediately, that is one signal. If there is a ridge, a tent, a delay longer than 2 seconds, your cells are not getting the water you have been drinking. This test is called skin turgor. Doctors have used it for over a century, and most people doing everything right on hydration have never done it once. That ridge is not about how much you drank. It is about whether the water reached the cells that needed it. There is a name for the gap between those two things, and once you understand it, you will not think about hydration the same way again. Here is the part that changes the picture. Your cells do not absorb water passively. Water moves through protein channels in the cell membrane called aquaporins. Think of them as gates. You have 13 types of them throughout your body, in your kidneys, your skin, your brain, your gut. When they work well, water flows in efficiently. When they are reduced or blocked, water circulates in the blood, passes through the kidneys, exits as urine that looks perfectly normal, and the cells themselves stay dry. Research published in Aging Cell has shown that aquaporin expression declines with age. More specifically, it declines with chronic low-grade inflammation, the kind that builds quietly after 40, the kind that does not show up on a standard blood panel as anything alarming, the kind that just makes everything feel slightly less responsive than it used to. So the urine color chart you were given, it measures what leaves your body, not what entered your cells. After 50, those two things increasingly diverge. You might be thinking, okay, so I drink more water and the problem is fixed. That is the reasonable conclusion, and it is wrong. Because the bottleneck is not intake, the bottleneck is transport. And transport depends on something that most hydration advice never mentions. Water does not move into cells efficiently on its own. It follows electrolytes, specifically sodium, potassium, and magnesium. These minerals create the osmotic gradient that pulls water through aquaporin channels into the cell interior. Without that gradient, water stays in circulation. It does not get delivered. Here is the practical piece. Tomorrow morning, before your first full glass of water, add a small pinch of unrefined salt, sea salt, Himalayan, anything unrefined, to that glass. Drink it slowly. Then within 30 minutes, eat something with potassium and magnesium. A banana, half an avocado, a handful of pumpkin seeds. One of those is enough. This is not a supplement protocol. You are not buying anything. You are building the osmotic vehicle that water needs to actually enter your cells. I want to be specific about what that pinch of salt does. It is not about sodium in the diet risk sense. It is about the concentration differential across the cell membrane. When extracellular sodium is slightly elevated relative to intracellular, osmotic pressure pulls water inward through the aquaporin gates. This is basic cell biology. It is also the step that most people skip because they were told salt is dangerous. And then they wonder why drinking more water does not help. Now here is the part that explains why two people can do everything I just described and still get different results. Cortisol, not the morning spike, that is normal and necessary. I mean chronically elevated cortisol, the kind that builds from poor sleep, from metabolic stress, from carrying low-grade inflammation month after month. A 2021 paper in the American Journal of Physiology showed that sustained glucocorticoid signaling downregulates AQP3 and AQP7 expression in peripheral tissues. In plain terms, stress hormones partially close the aquaporin gates. So if you are doing the salt protocol, drinking the right amount, getting the minerals, and still feeling the symptoms, the system that delivers water to your cells may be suppressed at the gate level, not by what you are lacking, by what your body is producing. This is why the loop matters. Poor cellular hydration impairs sleep quality. Impaired sleep elevates cortisol. Elevated cortisol suppresses aquaporin expression. Suppressed gates reduce cellular water uptake, which impairs sleep quality again. You can break the loop, but you have to know it exists first. Here is what the morning actually looks like when you build it around cellular transport rather than volume. First, do not drink immediately upon waking. Wait 5 minutes. Your cortisol peaks in the first 15 to 20 minutes after waking. This is called the cortisol awakening response, and it is normal. Large plain water intake during peak cortisol on an empty electrolyte system passes through with limited cellular uptake. The 5-minute pause is not passive. It is the first protocol decision. Second, first glass, small pinch of unrefined salt, drunk slowly, not fast. Rapid intake bypasses the absorption gradient. Third, within 30 minutes, potassium and magnesium from food, not a supplement first, food source. The cell uptake signal from whole food mineral sources is more stable than from isolated supplemental forms in most people. Fourth, before exercise, drink. Do not wait until thirst. Thirst during activity means cellular dehydration has already started. Cellular demand increases with even light movement. If you walk in the morning, hydrate before, not only after. Fifth, in the evening, reduce large plain water intake after 7 p.m. This is not about restriction, it is about the loop. Late large intake can trigger nocturia, waking at night to urinate, which fragments sleep architecture, which elevates cortisol the following morning, which suppresses the gates you spent the morning opening. The 5 steps are not a checklist. They are a sequence that follows the biology. Each one addresses a different point in the transport chain. One boundary I want to name clearly. If your skin turgor is consistently poor, ridge taking 3 seconds or more, persistent symptoms despite the protocol, please do not increase electrolyte loading aggressively on your own. Kidney function, heart failure, diuretics, and blood pressure medications all change how your body handles sodium and fluid balance. The morning pinch of salt I described is mild and appropriate for most healthy adults. If you have any of those conditions, bring this to your physician. Not because this is dangerous at the level described, but because the right version for your body may look different. Here is what I want to leave you with. You have been asking a volume question when the real question is a delivery question. How much water did I drink is not the same as are my cells receiving it. Those are 2 completely different problems. They have different solutions. And knowing which one you have changes everything about how you approach the morning. The skin turgor test you did at the beginning of this video, do it again tomorrow morning, not as a curiosity, as a signal. Your cells have been sending it for years. You just did not have a name for it.